let's go to our first fireside chat of the day on navigating the future of computing. So a look to the future. My guest is a man of 24 years of experience in the industry. I'm sure he won't mind saying. Syed Shabih Abbas, Senior Director at DXC Technology. Hi Syed, how are you?
Hey, very well. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a lot to go through, so we will crack on, and I will be asking you to get your crystal ball out because we are looking to the future here. So let's start with trends. For you, what do you see as the key advancements, key trends that will be coming in cloud computing, and how do you see those shaping the industry going forward?
Let me start with this, right? Because in order to understand the future, what's important is that we also go ahead and scratch a history a little bit, right? Now, if you really think 40, 50 years back when the mainframe started, those big giant boxes, and if you think about how the resources were being shared on those big mainframe boxes for optimization between different departments, right? I would say the foundation for cloud has been set up from those days. I mean, obviously, with the advancement, people have moved to more virtualized, distributed environment, right? But clearly, in last decade, right, cloud computing has begun to be more, let's say, recognizable in shape, right? And this is clearly have started to shape the business. I mean, it's not just considered as IT investment, and that's the journey that cloud computing has covered, starting from mainframe back to the current era. Now, if you look at some of the analysts' predictions, and rightfully so, right, that cloud computing is going to go ahead and overtake the traditional IT spending by 2025. And I think that's the prediction coming in from several of the analyst firms that we have, right? By 2023, it would be like at least a 600 billion investment in cloud. And by 2025, it's supposed to reach to around 1 trillion, right? Now, that's the journey that cloud has covered. Now, clearly it has been a trendsetter. Cloud computing has been a trendsetter in the business, and not just a trendsetter. It has been in the forefront of innovative trendsetter as well. If I have to tell you the future, right? What future cloud computing holds, I can list a lot of things, but I'm going to only talk about maybe 3 or 4, right? Let's say the first one I will pick on is the quantum computing, and the reason I'm picking it up is a lot of, and this is a debatable topic, right? That is quantum computing real? I can say with experience, with the industry knowledge, it is for real. I mean, IBM Compute Quantum, which is like a separate unit of IBM together, right? They have been investing a lot in the quantum hardware. Google has been investing in developing the quantum physics principles on these quantum computing scenarios. There are niche players in the market who are investing as a startup, investing billions of dollars in setting up the quantum computing. And there are a lot of use cases that you would see, right? If I name few from an industry point of view, we can easily get a lot of adoption in the financial services, right? The smart cities concepts coming up, the drug and the chemical research cases. So it is for real. Now, we can, like I say, we can debate in terms of, is quantum computing part of cloud computing? It is definitely going to be. It cannot be a separate model. It cannot be a separate distributed system. So it's going to be using a lot of cloud computing principles, a lot of cloud computing integration, right? So that is one thing I would say from a future point of view we should look forward for. Second, I think not so, I wouldn't call it as not so fancy, right? But we all hear about edge computing. Now, why edge is important? Because with all the, in order to respond to the growth from a 5G perspective, from Internet of Things perspective, edge computing is going to get more and more evolved as we move forward. I think that's going to be the second trend setter or second trend within cloud computing. Maybe one more, right? So we would have heard about, I mean, if you really think from a use case point of view, things are moving beyond corporate IT, right? So people are connecting from different part of the world, trying to use applications which may not fall into the corporate network. I think Gartner has come up with a terminology, SASE, right? Which is like secure access and service edge. Personally, based on the experience and what I see from different customers in the industry, this is going to be the other thing that I think from a cloud computing point of view is going to be very, very trend-setting, very, very futuristic. I think these are the three things that I can think of from a trend setting and how do I see future of computing, cloud computing getting evolved. Let me take one more. Sorry, I think this is important, right? Because one of the other topic that you would hear is a lot of things around green computing, right? And the reason I wanted to bring that up because what's happening is there's a lot of focus on sustainability from different organizations, right? What shouldn't happen is, and I'm just taking any big organization saying that, oh, I'm going to go ahead and go carbon neutral by 2030, 2035, but that carbon neutrality should not happen that I am going to take my problem out and give it to a hyperscaler, right? And make it someone else's problem. And that's where green computing is very, very important because in that case, a lot of pressure on hyperscalers, on cloud provider, to make sure that the hardwares, the electricity spend, right, everything else that happens from a cloud computing point of view is highly optimized, and they are also becoming carbon neutral, right? So I think that's another thing that's going to be the future of cloud computing from an overall perspective. I think I'll probably rest it there because I can talk all along, but I think those are the 4 or 5 things I think it's very, very important from a future point of view.
And Syed, I've got a sneaking suspicion you could probably reel off sort of 24, 54 if we had enough time. What I'll do is I'll just pick through a couple of bits from that answer. So if cloud computing has been the foundation for every digital transformation plan in every company around the globe, do you feel quantum computing and edge computing are the things that are really going to put the afterburners on digital transformation projects, really push things on to the next level?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, right? I mean, if you really think about it, and I divide it into 2 pillars, right? Number one is the technology stack, right? Where all these quantum computing of the world, the edge computing of the world, right? I mean, I have not, like you said, we can talk about 50 of them, right? So that's the technological advancement within the cloud technologies that will continue to transform the business and industries in coming year, right? Now, that's one part. Second part, which is very important from my perspective also, is the business enablement part, right? I mean, you can have all these technologies in place, but if you are not enabling the business with the right set of technologies, right? It's not that every business will be needing all of these all together, right? So right level of technology adoption is absolutely important for any business to grow, anything to move forward. Now, if I give you another statistics, I think close to 30 to 35%, and again, this is a done study with Harvard, 30 to 35% of the cloud investment that's being done by enterprises are not yielding the results. I mean, it is also resulting in the technical debts for them, right? So it's very, very important that we take a right decision as enterprises at the right time, with the right investment, and enabling business is going to be the key for industries and industries to transform in the coming year.
I'll try and get back to green computing a little bit later on, because that was something else I wanted to dig onto. But a question I did want to ask you was, Well, I'll spin back sort of 10, 15 years when I first had a CEO who presented us with a collaborative cloud function that we were using, and it was almost like the roof had been taken off the place. It was such an incredible thing to suddenly present to an office, and how it changed how we worked. It was revolutionary. For you, how do you think cloud computing is going to continue to provide those kind of wow moments that change how people work in business?
I think it would, right? Because I would say, let's face one thing, right? That while with all the goodness and the speed of development of the services, it's not easy to embrace. It's not easy to implement, right? Just let me call it that way, or adopt these technologies easily. So it comes with their own challenges. It comes with their own, let's say, issues, the cultural challenges, the thinking that needs to be changed. I would say the reason it will wow customers, all these cloud computing, because it's moving away from just being an IT setup to a business enablement setup, right? And there are so many examples that we can see where we find that the speed with which the speed to market, right? And I have so many examples which I can quote. I have talked to customers, the CEOs, the CIOs of the organizations, right? Where they say that their speed to market, things that they would have done probably in year and a half time frame, they have done in a month and a half time, right? That's a wow factor for them. I mean, not everyone in the business is still aware of that, but that needs a lot of cultural change. That needs a speed of adoption with the right set of technologies that can still create that wow factor. I'm going to say if we don't do it right, that wow factor is probably not going to ever come, right? But then as we move forward and solving some of the business and a customer problem, right? Take an example from consumer and retail industry, the experience that it gives to customer. I think it's phenomenal, right? I mean, you go to any of the supermarkets with all the scan and go kind of facilities, right? You look at an experience from a financial point of view, and I don't know how many of us would have visited a bank, right? In the last probably 1 year, I can say I haven't seen a face of it, right? I just gone for something which I absolutely cannot do. So I think it's going to continue to wow customer because it's just not an IT play anymore. It's absolutely becoming a business play. And if it cannot solve a business problem, I don't think anyone is going to be looking at it from an enabler at all.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you the billion-dollar question, and if you can wrap this up in a couple of minutes, then I'll move on to the chicken and egg question, because you'll be on fire today. And you were saying about the cultural change, about helping a business almost catch up with the speed of progress to really implement that progress. How do you affect that cultural change to make sure people are keeping up with the progress of the network, of the cloud?
Mm-hmm. So that is a billion-dollar question.
I did warn you.
So I think education, what we have also, at least what I have also experienced, right? If you think the way transformation was happening in the past, it was more of a big bang transformation, digital transformation, which organizations were running. And often we have stories, right? Again, you talk about stories with respect to General Electrics, right? GE. There were stories with respect to Procter and Gamble, right? Where there were big bang transformation that were done, and it resulted in not so favorable results, right? So, and I'm coming to your question on how do we think we can culturally change it? But if we look at transformation nowadays, it's a very carefully led transformation, right? In a very agile fashion, in a very in a chunk which doesn't disrupt the market, right? Yet gain the confidence of the business to be able to move forward with that, right? So the size of that transformation has decreased, but yet the speed of it has increased over the period of time. And I think that's the pillar, that's the very basic of giving confidence to a business that yes, things will work, things will change, and this is the benefit that you're going to get as a business. I think that's very important from an IT point of view. Education, right? No one likes things to be disrupted. If I'm going to go to a sales and after sales, right, and say that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a digital transformation, a change, which is going to go ahead and disrupt your sales process for a month, right? You got to go ahead and give training. I don't think anyone is going to work. I think, let me give you an example, right? And I'm sure all of us would relate that. If I talk about Mercedes-Benz, right? If you would have seen, they are moving away, I mean, not as much completely, right? But they are moving away from a showroom-based sales to most of an online sales, pretty much all the automobile manufacturer, right? And this is a big leap in the transformation. This is a big leap in the culture that they are trying to drive. You have your own configurator, you have your own thing. There are a lot of costs that they save as well. There is a lot of investment that they do as well, right? So education, training, and bringing in that confidence is the key. And obviously managing the change, right? The change management is a big topic. Again, it's something that we can talk all day, but this is very, very important to make sure that we culturally align people with that transformation objectives.
And considering that was $1 billion question, I think you addressed that very well indeed. Moving on to the demand for cloud service, because it is growing exponentially, I would imagine. What challenges do you see organizations having keeping up with that demand and that growth?
I think a couple of them we already discussed, but let me just state few obvious ones, right? Number one, we are moving away from an integrated technology landscape to a distributed technology landscape. And that comes with their own challenges, right? How do you govern that? How do you control that? How do you manage that? Very obvious one, right? Embracing these new technologies, right, that cost money and that takes time. And these are the two things that business often doesn't have extra, right? So no one will have extra money and extra time to go ahead and embrace with these technologies. Now, these were the two obvious ones. Some of the non-obvious one, right? And I think we discussed these. Number one, speed of technology advances, and that makes it hard to keep it up, right? Like you also mentioned while summarizing. Am I fast enough to make that sustainable long-term decision and transformation? And I'm not, like, with all these ever-changing tech space, right? Am I there to keep up the speed? That's one. Cultural aspect, right? How do we go ahead and culturally align our organization and business with that? I think the other thing which is very key is also the skill availability. And I think we pretty much everyone within at least a global service integrator, when I talk to customers as well, that's one of the key challenge as well, right? I think one of the, and when I often talk to my peer group, my teams across globe, I say one of the key skills these days is that how quickly you unlearn and learn. It's not about knowing Java, it's not about knowing Ansible, not about knowing cloud computing, right? So it's a paradigm shift in terms of skills, how we train our people, and obviously the skill availability on it. And last and not the least, right, is about convincing business with respect to this constant adoption and the changes. I mean, somehow it's related to cultural changes, but again, culture is something different that can be within IT, within non-IT as well, but really going ahead and convincing the business that, yes, this transformation, because question would be, is that your last? Answer is no. And that's what the convincing is required, and that's a challenge that generally all these cloud transformation and adoption faces.
Yes, I'm certainly having a challenge fitting all of these aspects in that I want to get to, because we've got about 5 minutes left, and one thing that would be remiss of me if I didn't talk about is security, and that's the importance of security in the cloud and data security. How do you see cloud providers addressing those concerns going forward as the people who want to break down the security barriers are getting better and better?
No, I think that's one of the topic very close to me. Now, there's a lot of investment that hyperscalers and some of the other private cloud provider has been doing in strengthening the security, right, from all the aspects. Now, security is just not one phase within cloud computing, right? It's a multifaceted thing. You can't just have a security on cloud. It has to be beyond that as well, right? So not everything is on cloud. You have a multi and hybrid cloud scenarios, right? So I think security is one of the key aspects where all the cloud providers are investing heavily on that. My recommendation always has been that we should not just look at from a cloud perspective, because security includes the compliance, the regulations, the data transfers, how security is being done on data at rest and data in transit, right? And all these things should be taken into consideration when we're looking at it, right? So not just perimeter security, how architecture is being governed. I would say from where we were 5-6 years back and where we are now from a hyperscaler point of view, it's a phenomenal investment. A lot of security has been enhanced. Can we confidently say that is it? Unfortunately, answer is no, and it's very specific to different organization, the data security, all of that aspect to it. And I would probably leave it at that stage with respect to security in the cloud. But I think from a confidence point of view, there are a lot of government organization, public sector, which have started utilizing the cloud, right? And we all know that they are not going to go ahead without validating and having an informed decision. So there are a lot of things to be done, but yes, we are, I think, at pretty mature stage on those security aspects.
Syed, thank you so much. We've covered off so much ground today in a very short period of time. I think we both need a brief lie down because we've covered off so much. Thank you so much for joining us at Cloud and 5G Live today. Really enjoyed our conversation.
No, thank you very much, and you take care, and thanks for having me here.
You're very welcome indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Syed.